Hello, let's begin today's recording. Today is a heavy rain outside, but I think the noise is acceptable. And because the OBS do not have the noise reduction, but I think maybe it is okay. Not use the audio city to record the voice, just by the OBS itself. And I think my MacBook they have the three microphone. How to say the microphone 阵列。
Array.
Yes, it is a microphone array. My MacBook have three how to say 高增益麦克风阵列。
High gain microphone arrays.
High gain microphone arrays. My MacBook have three microphones. They build up high gain microphone arrays. So I think the noise is some low. Okay, let's begin. Let's begin as the keywords Agile coach. Agile coach in Singapore, and we got this position. Let's see the first job is Agile consulting. Let's open on the new Windows. And let's see the detailed job description. About the job.
Alumni.
Alumni Service is a global digital transformation management consultancy founded in Singapore, providing high-end expertise to industry-leading clients to drive real business improvement through disruptive technologies. We offer advice, provide technology transformation, and people change expertise to delivery. Our global team are handpicked experts locally all over the globe, with executive level experience in tech-focused MNC, multinational country, consultants, and startups. We are looking for strong Agile consulting to join our growing teams in Singapore. This role is well suited for an experienced Agile delivery manager and Agile coach, and with a background in management consulting. We want more like-minded people to help define and accelerate our growth as we continue to serve organizations on their Agile transformation journey. Experience working with clients in France, Telecom. Where is Telecom? 电信.
Telco.
Financial also. It is France. Financial, not France. With clients in finance, telecom, and logistics and high preferred. The role requires a high percentage of travel also. Today I'm not very concentrated for the words because there is a very beautiful voice from our Windows, the very beautiful birds. It's yellow bird. Don't know. Maybe it is Huang Ying. Let's see.
Black-napped oriole, Aurelus chinensis.
Oh, I don't know. Black-napped oriole.
Black-napped oriole, Aurelus chinensis.
Okay, it is Chinese is maybe simple. Huang Ying. The role requires a high percentage of travel. What will you offer? Vibrant.
Vibrant.
a vibrant and entrepreneurial culture where we feel and realize your ambition. The chance to work with and learn from a group of global experts in their field. Career, career progressing, training and professional development, access to global clients and well-known brand across a broad range of industries, including telecoms, financial service, government, hospitality, and hospitality, hospital,
Hospitality.
hospitality, and logistics. Competitive salary and benefit. Okay, let's see the requirements. 10 years plus experience in managing and successful delivering Agile-related technology project. US dollar 1 million or larger. Deep experience helping Agile teams successful scale and sustain delivery in release train tribe scaled Agile programmer delivering tangible benefit to the organization. Experience using technical including human-centered design, Lean, Scrum, Kanban, and development and operation.
DevOps.
DevOps, okay. Lean 精益生产
Lean.
Lean Scrum
Scrum.
看板translate to Japanese
Kanban.
Kanban. Oh, it's Japanese. Experience or changing management, helping people to prepare, adopt, and embrace change, and embed change. Proven experience operating and effectively communication, both strategically and tactically.
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 And tactically working with the C-suite and operational shareholders. Must be able to work well in teams and collaborate with all around others. Has an interest in emerging technologies and how they present opportunities to enable organizations to transform and disturb different industries. Must have the qualification, certification in Agile, for example, SCM, SPC, certified in project management, for example, Prince 2, PMBOK, certification in change management, for example, PROSCI, bachelor's degree, IT or engineering or equivalent. I think the best way is to study more about the Agile. Yesterday we have talked about the waterfall methodology in traditional software development. From this book, we know Agile was supposed to be a set of principles and values that help us to deliver, embrace change, and be responsive. Instead, we got a lot of methodologies, certifications, and terms behind all of this noise. Often, the main ideas from the manifesto gets lost. So instead of improving productivity and quality improvement, Agile methodology can result in unnecessary waste and additional frustration, additional frustration to the team. Let's look at the most common used Agile methodology, Scrum. Yesterday we have talked about the examples of Scrum misuse for 4 examples. First one is the endless discussion on some details on how to assign story point or arrangement that some team
Rituals.
That some team rituals not agile according to some mysterious books and experts. Second is so-called Scrum experts who insist on using the methods they picked up after reading one or two books on the subject and will radicalize and he will radicalize and he want to radicalize. He will radicalize you in case you run the meetings without fancy methods they remember. Third one is religious creation or burning down chart that eventually becomes the goal of the sprint rather than delivering actually software. The last one is endless exhausting meeting and have no clear purpose. Yesterday we have talked about the 4 principles of the Agile. First one is individuals and interaction over process and tools. The second is working software over comprehensive documentation. The third one is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. The fourth is responding to change over following a plan. And all of these 4 examples doesn't help with adoption on Agile methodology in the teams. Often, teams that want to adopt the Agile methodology become overwhelmed and things get worse instead of better. It doesn't mean that people who promote some particular Agile methodology in a certain way have bad intention. It, however, does mean that repeating some successful
Rituals.
Some successful rituals. However, that means that repeating some successful rituals. Successful rituals from one team to another will not necessarily bring the desired result. As the illustration, during World War II, some Malaysia islands became base for Japanese and later Allied forces. Locals were exposed to airplanes and Western civilization for the first time. Local residents were exposed to airplanes and Western civilization for the first time. The military shared their food supplies and other items with the local residents, and the islanders became accustomed to Western good. And the islanders became accustomed to Western goods. After the war, the troops abandoned the base and the island were forgotten. Years later, research expeditions visited the island and they saw that the locals were imitating military rule. That the locals were imitating military
rituals.
Military rituals, militating military. The locals were imitating military rituals. Imitating military rituals and have built runways and airplane and had built runway and airplane idols and airplane idols out of wood. The locals expected that they performed the routine that had been there during presence of military on the island, the airplanes would return and bring them cargo. This phenomenon has been named a cargo cult.
Phenomenon.
This phenomenon has been named a cargo cult.
Cult.
Has been named a cargo cult. The religions followed some agile method that worked for some teams at a certain point is also a form of cargo cult. Okay, let's see the chapter 1. From waterfall to agile, it is expected that if all the rituals and
Terminologies.
Rituals, if all the rituals and terminologies of the holy agile methodology are respected religious without necessarily understanding the reason behind them, the
Miracle.
of productivity and the miracle of productivity and success will happen. The miracle of productivity and success will happen. Unfortunately, in most situations, it is not the case that the opposite might be a like outcome. Fortunately, in most situations, it is not the case, and the opposite might be a likely outcome. Prior to exploitation.
Prior.
Prior to experimentation. Prior to experimentation or discussion and or prior to experimentation or discussing any fancy buzz methods or agile methodology, decision makers and the team should get familiar with most basic agile principles from the manifesto, and only after that the team can start exploring popular agile technologies and decide if they have any real value in order to solve problems they encountered. Okay, let's see the chapter 2, overview of agile methodology. Before jumping into the Agile Scrum methodology and the Scrum Master role description, let's have an overview of the most common Agile methodologies to get some context, so we do not operating in a
Vacuum.
So we do not operate in a vacuum. There are three most common methods to implement Agile principle: extreme programming, Scrum, and Kanban. We can classify those in a scale from more
Prescriptive.
In a scale from more prescriptive to more adaptive. So extreme program XP is a very strict process. It's a very strict process and involves a lot of rules and regulation on how things should be done. And Kanban is something with minimal amount of sets and regulations. Scrum is in the middle and can shift to less and can shift to be less or more prescriptive. Or more less or more prescriptive based on the end. From extreme programming to Scrum to Kanban. Let's talk about first the extreme programming. XP is the brief abbreviation or extreme programming. XP is the most perspective. It is hard to pronunciation. Let's see in translation.
Prescriptive.
Prescriptive. Okay. Prescriptive.
Prescriptive.
XP is the most prescriptive specify of the Agile methodologies, for which the main focus is the prescription, blah 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 blah. Prescription. The main focus is the prescription or engineering process. XP usually works in short development cycle of 1 week, so that changes required by the customer can be frequently incorporated. The whole team works as one without having defined roles, and the customer become part of them, and the customer becomes part of the team. XP XP prescribe many practice, which include test-driven development, customer testing, continuous integration, short iteration.
Iterations.
Short iterations, small release, pair programming, planning game, simple design, refactoring, collective code ownership, coding standard, metaphor, sustainable pace, metaphor,比喻, metaphor, sustainable pace, customer working closely on site with the team, customer working closely on site with the team, and customer acceptance test on each release. Eventually, it all should translate to a high quality code produced. Despite the claim that XP is more production, despite the claims that XP is more productive in XP-oriented resource development can be slower than other methodologies. I believe it can be more productive only in some specific case.
Specific.
I believe it can be more productive only in some specific case. Wow, the heavy rain bank. Okay. The main difference from Scrum, I found the writer found XP more driven by code development methodologies rather than team dynamics and process within the team. XP has a less flexible framework than Scrum. Scrum can adopt the practice from XP and basically do the same thing as XP, but when required, Scrum is flexible enough to switch to less prescriptive methodologies like Kanban. Scrum is more focused on productivity, while XP is focused on engineering. Scrum is more focused on productivity, while XP is focused on engineering. If you do want your team to use XP methodologies eventually, Scrum can be an intermediate. Scrum can be an intermediate step. The team can start using Scrum and gradually adopt XP best practice. And let's see the risks and mitigation.
Mitigations.
Risk of wasting capacity. Some of those perspectives, some of those prescribe, some of those prospective next engineering process applying to XP might bring very little to no value.
Mitigations.
In case via quantity is not a critical process, Scrum methodology can be a better suited. Scrum methodology can be a better suited methodology. Risk or lack of customer availability. Since customers can't always commit to becoming part of the team, it can become an issue for XP methodology.
Mitigations.
Rely more on Scrum methodology, while the product owner can substitute for lack of customer commitment to a certain extent. Kanban was intended by Tokyo in the 1940s to reduce idle time during manufacturing. In the software world, it is basically executing work as it comes and using a board with nodes to track the progress and bottlenecks. To track the progress and bottlenecks. Kanban is all about the visualization for the progress. Kanban is all about the visualization of the progress. So the expression "a picture is worth 1,000 words" really describes the Kanban process very accurately. The work doesn't have to come in iteration. The work doesn't have to come in iteration.
Iterations.
The work doesn't have to come in iterations. The work doesn't have to come in iterations in Kanban, and this process is very suitable for support activities, or in some cases, so for SaaS cloud-based solutions. The roles in the team are not necessarily defined. Everybody does everything. Kanban mainly concentrates. Kanban mainly concentrates on work process. It can be good practice to have some element of Scrum methodology, like a daily Scrum meeting if required. The main strength of Kanban is a visualization of the work process that helps the team to identify bottlenecks or opportunities to reduce idle time. For example, instead of continuing with developing, all the team members will start just testing if they see that the amount of testing tracks pile up. For example, instead of continuing with developing, all the team members will start just testing if they see that all the will start just testing if they see that the amount of testing tasks piles up. For example, instead of continuing with developing, all the team members will just starting to testing if they see that all the amount of testing tasks piled up, peels up. On the surface, the Kanban board may look like a regular task board, with one difference. In Kanban, the number of items that can be in progress at any given time is strictly limited to 1 or 2 tasks each team member can process in parallel.
Parallel.
In parallel, that every member can process in parallel. Parallel.
Parallel.
In parallel can process in parallel. Despite the board being the center of Kanban methodology, it can also be executed without the actual physical board. When all the team members operate remotely, tools such as Trello can be used, or in some other case, or in some other cases, by just assign incident to team members. The same goal is achieved without the need of having a physical or even virtual board. Kanban is really easy to implement. Kanban is really easy to implement in the team. The process is very simple. So even though this book is about Scrum methodology, you should always consider Kanban as a possible solution for your needs in certain situations. For example, during the maintenance or testing phase, it makes more sense to use Kanban than having an overhead with the Scrum methodology. Risks and mitigation. Risk of missing the big picture. Kanban takes each task separately, and as a result, often design, development, and test are on the granularity. On the granularity, and the tests are on the granularity. And the tests are on the granularity. And the tests are on the granularity of this one task. And the tests are on the granularity of this one task. The downside is that an individual team member can be successful in developing this one task feature, but will fail on the big picture on how all features will come together. Mitigation. In case of a new complex development, rely more on Scrum methodology than on Kanban. Risk of lack of responsibility. Due to the lack of role, there is no individual responsibility for different parts of the development process, which can result in failure of satisfy customer needs and quality issues. Mitigation.
Granularity. Mitigation.
In case of a new complex development, rely more on Scrum methodology than on Kanban, or at least have some accountable roles. Scrum. Okay. Wait a moment. Okay. Wow. My imagine is so large. Okay. Let's change for this. Scrum. Scrum is one of the most popular, if not the most popular, Agile methodology. Similar to XP. It has a short release. This iteration, those iteration.
Iterations.
Those iterations are called sprint. Those iterations are called sprint. It has roles in the team, such as Scrum Master in charge of the process, and the product owner in charge of the product. There are also other defined roles in the team. It also includes mandatory meeting, daily Scrum stand-up meeting. Everyone stand up and talk very quickly. Planning, reviewing, retrospective, and backlog grooming.
Grooming.
And backlog grooming. We will discuss Scrum methodology in detail in later chapters of this book. This main advantage of Scrum and why I'm advocating. Why I'm advocating it over XP. The main advantage of Scrum and why I'm advocating.
Advocating.
And advocating over XP and Kanban is that Scrum can incorporate the best of both worlds of Kanban and XP. Is that Scrum can incorporate the best of both worlds. Of Kanban and XP based on the situation and needed. Risks and mitigations. Risk of meeting overkill. Risk of meeting overkill. Meeting ratios. Meeting ratios are not always relevant. Meeting ratios are not always relevant to everyone and can be demotivating. And can be demotivating and unnecessary. Mitigation. Scrum Master requires meeting moderation. Scrum Master requires meeting moderation skill. Moderation skills. Risks of change during the sprint. Scope change during the sprint execution can lead to an unsuccessful sprint and best, since they can result in duplication of meeting and discussion. Mitigation. Embrace the change with a positive attitude. Better do it in the middle of the sprint than after the sprint. However, Scrum Master meeting moderation. Scrum Master meeting moderation skill is a must to reduce the meeting duration as much as possible. As we be clear to highlight the issues and be transparent to highlight the issues and be transparent with shareholders on how changes affect the capacity. Be transparent with shareholders on how changes affect the capacity. Risk or estimation. Inaccurate estimation can lead to wrong assumptions and failure sprint. As view estimation during the meeting can lead to a long meeting and demotivation. Can lead to long meetings and demotivation.
Demotivation.
Demotivation and demotivation and demotivation. Demotivation can lead to and demotivation. Mitigation. Scrum Master meeting. Moderation. Scrum Master meeting moderation skill. High level estimate. Keeping some buffer and committing to few tasks during the sprint, but have a few extra tasks in case of additional capacity. Okay, it should be okay. Let's just stop the recording. It seems okay, and I read aloud so many words and about the Scrum Master and especially for the moderation skill. It is very important.
Moderation
skill to avoid the long-term duration for the meeting and to fill tasks during the sprint and do not have so many extra tasks in the sprint and along with the pace of development. Okay, let's stop the recording.